My name is Dale Hildebrand, and I'm the coordinator for the Lorain Tuba Christmas. If you have kids in high school and you go to football games, you might have seen me because I am the director of the Brookside High School Cardinal Bands, and I work in that role a lot. Thank you. You guys got to realize, with 125 or 121 tuba players, that's how many players we have up here. With 121 tubas, you have to sing pretty loud. So we're going to give you another chance here. This is Deck the Halls. I want to hear you crank it on that verse, okay? Thank you. Our next carol, I think, is an especially beautiful carol, and it's an especially beautiful arrangement of it. One of the other purposes that Harvey had in mind when he began Tuba Christmas was to demonstrate to the public that the tuba is a very beautiful, lyrical instrument. Too many of us think that all tubas do is play the oompa parts in polka bands, which they do, but the tuba can also just be a very gorgeous singing instrument. And I think this next carol and a few others that we play shows that off very, very well. This is God Rest Ye Merry Gentlemen. Kind of reminds me of the old days sitting around the piano with the family singing Christmas carols, only the piano weighs about 450 tons and takes 120 people to play. But anyway, the next one we're going to do is My brain is terrible. The First Noel. So this is a really good, lively, up-tempo hymn or carol. I want to hear you singing with us, okay? Thank you. There's, just to tell you a little bit, I'd like to tell you a little bit of the story of how this Tuba Christmas came to be. 9 years ago, I had been traveling with a lot of my students from school, from Brookside, to the Akron Tuba Christmas, which is an enormous Tuba Christmas. And incidentally, to put in a plug for that, if you enjoy this tonight, if you go to the Akron Civic Theater tomorrow night at, what were the times? 5 o'clock and 7:30 tomorrow night. They're going to do a Tuba Christmas. They're going to have 2 shows. Akron's is one of the first Tuba Christmases that happened in Ohio, and it's by far the largest, actually one of the largest ones in the country. He'll have 500 to 600 tuba players playing in the theater. And it's a great time. I went there for many, many years. I got the idea to start doing a Tuba Christmas in Lorain when I realized I was taking 30 to 40 of my students from Brookside to go to Akron, and that alone is enough to be the seed to start your own Tuba Christmas. And as well, my son started playing tuba. My son is with us. He hasn't missed once. He's here for the 9th Tuba Christmas. He's gone from the first one he went to was the year he started playing tuba in the 5th grade, and he's now a first-year graduate student in tuba performance at the University of Colorado. So he's up here in the front row right behind me. Thank you. If only he was as good looking as me. But anyway, I got to thinking about it, and I thought about the Palace, which is a wonderful venue for events of this sort. And I came to John Handyside, and I asked him what he thought of it, and found out that John had been searching for somebody for a couple years that would coordinate a Tuba Christmas event here. So I didn't have to sell anything. I had stacks of stuff explaining what it was and everything, and John was just waiting for somebody to walk in and say they'd do it. So that was a no-brainer. And then I went down the block here to Driscoll Music to my friend Tony Hawks, and I made an absolutely outrageous request of him. This is a totally nonprofit event. In fact, this is a completely backwards concert. The people on stage here had to pay $5 registration fee to play for you today. You didn't have to pay anything to get in. So obviously it's not a for-profit thing. It's definitely a nonprofit. And I went to my friend Tony, and I asked him if Driscoll Music would be willing to underwrite this event in the event that, you know, we didn't turn enough money to pay the bills on it. And there's very few bills, but it can happen. And Tony was more than gracious and said that he would do that. John allows us to use the theater at no charge, and he provides the ushers and the services, and he's videotaping for us and the whole thing. So I would like, if you gentlemen wouldn't mind, John and Tony, if you'd come up here for a second, I'd like to give you your Tuba Christmas button for 2004. Every year, you can see a bunch of us wearing scarves. They have these buttons. Every year, there's a different button. We have these for sale. There's some left over in the back. They're $1 a piece if you'd like to get a Tuba Christmas button. Wear it to work next week, and everybody will ask you what the heck that is. But anyway, this is Tony Hawks from Driscoll Music. And Mr. John Handyside, the theater manager.
First of all, I would like to ask Paul Driscoll here this evening. If he is, can he stand up? Actually, Paul Driscoll has worked with Dell also on this, and I'd like to thank him very much for helping get this started. Last but not least, Mr. Hildebrand, he won't talk much about himself. He's been my friend for a long time, and really a lot of effort goes on his part, getting mailing lists and all the things that happen, and all of the musicians, of course. I'd like to give Mr. Hildebrand a fine hand of applause, please. Thank you.
Okay, now we're going to get an important lesson in Christmas carols. How many of you, well, the next one we're going to play for you is Good King Wenceslas. I'm willing to bet that the percentage of people who know all the words to one verse of this song is not 100. So we need to get some recourse here, because you're not allowed to sit here and not sing, guys. That's too grouchy. It's Christmas, you got to cheer up. So, if you don't know the words, there's a universal Christmas carol syllable. It is la. You don't know what else to sing. If you don't know the words, give it a big, loud la. We're all friends. If the guy next to you knows all the words to this one, there's one coming he won't. So, don't be embarrassed. We're all in the same boat here. Good King Wenceslas. Rest your vocal cords for a moment. This is Go Tell It on the Mountain, and it's just a cool arrangement, and we're just going to let you listen to this one. Thank you. If you knew Good King Wenceslas, I have another challenge for you. No calling for a lifeline either. This is the holly and the ivy. There's always a few people. Last year, one of my friends cheated and printed up lyric sheets. I didn't think that was fair, but I like hearing. My payoff on this is getting to hear the words you guys make up. Just keep it clean, okay? This is the holly and the ivy, an ancient English carol. Okay, if you're enjoying it, we hear you singing. You're a little weak on that one. La. La. Okay? It's okay. Next, we're going to play for you one of just a really great Christmas carol. This one has just a really neat rhythmic feel, and you can't help but smile when you hear this one. It came upon a midnight clear. Talked to you before about the beautiful singing quality of these instruments when they're played in competent hands, which all of these people are. The next one is just really shows that off. This is just a beautiful, quiet, contemplative setting of the little town of Bethlehem. Next, we're going to go to another Old English carol called Here We Come A-Wassailing, or sometimes it's just called the Wassail Song. I think you'll enjoy this. This is kind of a rowdy hymn. It's about people going from door to door, singing Christmas carols and drinking. So, you know, loosen up. Don't drink. John would get mad, but, you know, loosen up. I remember the first Christmas carol I ever learned was going to church and hearing Joy to the World. So we're going to do Joy to the World next. And this may be the first Christmas carol everybody learns, I'm not sure. But this is another one. Everybody knows this. Sing it out. Help us out up here. Okay, like 121 tubas need help, but we do. So let it rip. Our next hymn, our Christmas carol, sounds like it would be very ancient, and it's because of the way the composer wrote the melody. In fact, it was written in the late 1800s. It almost sounds like a medieval piece because it's written in, if you know what a mode is, it's written kind of in a modal setting. This is We Three Kings. Okay, our next Christmas carol is it's another English carol. It's sometimes called the Westminster Carol. You probably know it as Angels We Have Heard on High. This one also, the chorus is really easy because all you have to do is say, oh, glow. Remember that one? Okay, let's hear it. Guys are working hard up here, and they need a little break, and there's some interesting things about this group as well that I thought I'd share with you at this point. We get a vast cross-section of society that plays in our Tuba Christmas, as probably do most Tuba Christmases, and that's the beauty of this. Not everybody up here is a professional tuba player. Some of them are tuba players one day a year. Maybe they play trumpet the rest of the year. I know I was talking with Carrie in the back, and we have, I don't know, what did we decide? Carrie, 16 alumni of Brookside High School that I think I could be reasonably sure they don't pick up a tuba even once a week during the year, probably. But they come out and play every year and just enjoy the music and have a good time in the fellowship and the Christmas spirit. And that's what Tuba Christmas is all about. Just to give you an idea of how broad our cross-section is and some of the neat things, every Tuba Christmas is a little unique, and some of those things about us. We have our youngest performer this year. We have a tie. We have Corey Shoemaker from Sheffield Middle School, sitting in the front row here. And we have Jesse Barron from Milan, who's sitting in the second row there. They're both 12, right? 12? They're 12, right? Yeah, they're 12. Our oldest performers today wasn't exactly a tie, but, well, you got to give them both credit because they're great guys and they play really well. I admire these guys greatly. At 74 years of age, we have Joe Rhodes from Jeromesville, Ohio. Joe, can you let us see you back there? And I want to make sure I don't mispronounce his name. At 80 years old, we have Warren Feisley playing tuba in the back. Warren, there he is. I asked if there's anybody that had traveled an extraordinary distance to perform, and we have Sean Pankratz, who came from Portland, Oregon. He's home visiting his parents, and he came to Tuba Christmas. And I gave up on the last name, but we have a gentleman named Magnus, who's from Germany, who's here playing with us today, which is kind of cool. I thought, my son's in school in Colorado, my daughter's in Florida, and they weren't even close this year. That's pretty cool. We have a number of schools represented today, and I always like to recognize this because I think it's great that the kids come out and participate in musical experiences outside their school music program. Mark Cecil's and my students from Brookside and Sheffield Middle School, there are 17 of them. Let's see, put your hands up there. And just for fun, and because Carrie got me curious about it, all of you Brookside alumni, can you stand up or put your hand up or something, please? There's a bunch of you. There you go. That's fun. Avon Lake High School has 3 students performing with us today. Where are you guys? Where'd they go? They're kind of squeezed in, so not all of them are able to stand up. Firelands High School, we have a student with us from Firelands. There he is. You notice the guy with the plastic tuba sitting next to him? It's because he's insulated from that electric line on the tuba. If he goes up, the guy next to him is not, but that's a good thing. From Admiral King High School, there's... See? I'm telling you. From Admiral King High School, we have 6 students with us and a teacher, music teacher, in the back there. Edison High School has brought 7 students. Where are you guys? There you are. Come on, let's see who we are. Southview, we have 4 students from Southview. They're over here. We have 3 students from Avon, town I grew up in. We have 8 very enthusiastic students from Vermilion. Yeah. Thanks, Mom. And we have 6 students from Sandusky with us today. And once again, I really appreciate you coming out, and I think it's really important for your musical development that you get out and do things outside your home music programs. Those are great programs, but it really helps to gain the experience. Just so out of curiosity, and so you can kind of see how this becomes a tradition with people. There are people in this group that from Thanksgiving till Christmas, every weekend we'll go to another Tuba Christmas, and maybe 2. I know a lot of these guys are going to the Akron one tomorrow, so they'll kill off 2 in one weekend. But there's several of these guys that just chase these around the state through the whole Christmas season. So just to kind of give you an idea about that, how many of you, not talking about just Lorain, just in general, how many of you have participated in Tuba Christmases for more than, say, 15 years? Anywhere? Okay, Jim, and back in the corner. How about more than 12 years? Anybody there? There you go. How about 10? How many of you have been in Tuba Christmas for 9 years? Anywhere? 8? Okay, 7? 6? 5? 4? 3? 2 Tuba Christmases, and 1. How many of this is your first one? There you go. Good. Thank you. How many? I won't go through the whole thing. How many of you have been to all 9 of Lorain Tuba Christmases? Can I just see your hands real quick? Yeah. Thanks. Good. Okay, we're going to continue our program. We're going to play for you an arrangement of a Bach harmonization of a hymn called Break Forth, O Beauteous Heavenly Light. And you don't have to sing on this one. This is just such a beautiful thing. I just wanted to have the group play it for you to enjoy. The next carol we'd like to play for you is actually based on a very ancient medieval Gregorian chant tune, and it's been harmonized a little bit in the modern style. This is O Come, Emmanuel. Our next carol, excuse me. Our next carol, I think it's the prettiest one in the set that we have to play for you. This is Lo How a Rose Are Bluing, and this is another one. You don't have to sing on this one. Just enjoy the sounds on this. It's a beautiful arrangement, and you really get to hear all these instruments at their best in terms of color and sensitivity. It's just very well written, and I think you'll enjoy it. One of the things you've probably noticed is that there's many really different looking instruments up here, and you may wonder what that's all about. The tuba family probably has the most diverse look to it of any family. I mean, a trumpet looks like a trumpet, and there's pretty much no mistaking what it is. But the larger an instrument is, the more different ways it can be wrapped, and it affects the sound different ways, or it doesn't affect it, or however. And there's a lot of different things up here. We have some unusual horns. I just like to show you because sometimes people aren't familiar with what the instruments really are. A real, honest to gosh, the instrument that's called a real tuba is this instrument that Jeremy has here. Could you hold that up a little bit? That's a tuba. That's the instrument's called tuba. These things in the back, we call them tubas a lot. But Christy, could you hold yours up or stand up or something? This is a sousaphone. This was an instrument that was developed at the request of John Philip Sousa back in the late 1800s, who was trying to find an instrument that would be easier to march with at the same time. But it plays in the same register as the tuba. It's built differently, obviously, but it plays the same notes and same fingerings and everything. Last year, if you were here, we were lucky enough to have a gentleman bring in the very, very first sousaphone that was ever built. And that was kind of a cool thing to have. Then there's some other members of the tuba family. Who's got a euphonium? How about Corey and Josh here? Corey and Josh have an instrument called a euphonium. You notice it has 4 valves, and it's got the bell going straight up. And then we have basically an instrument that Katie's got down there. Can you hold that up, hon? And that's an instrument that is a baritone. And you can see it's wrapped around different, and it only has 3 valves, and there's some other kind of technical differences between them. Those are basically the members of this family, but you can see there's a lot of different sizes and shapes, and they all still manage to play the same parts and be part of the tuba family. We have some kind of unusual instruments. In the baritone line, we have an English baritone, which is slightly different, so you can see how the valves are above the rest of the tubing, and that's with us every year, thanks to this gentleman, and we appreciate him being here. We have another really weird instrument by our modern standards. This used to be pretty common, but there aren't very many of them left today. It's a double bell euphonium. Could you show us that, please? It has 2 bells. The idea with it is the valve that you see on the left side of it there, when you press that down, it sends the air through the smaller bell, and it was supposed to sound like a trombone. As a trombone player, I take offense at that, but it's okay. It worked for them. But that's a very rare instrument anymore. There were a lot of them made at one time, but there aren't many left. Over here in the back, we have an instrument that was bought at a garage sale, if I remember right. It's a 1907 instrument. It looks sort of like a sousaphone, but it's called a helicon. It has the bell going kind of straight off there instead of pointing up. So that instrument's just short of 100 years old. Yeah, it's the ancestor of the sousaphone, right? And what other kind of... Oh, well, we have some other weird ones, like the one Maureen's holding here. Maureen, can you hold yours up? You might see these instruments. This is a marching baritone. It's a more modern instrument, but we use them in marching bands because they're a little bit easier to hold and manage than the traditional style of baritone. But you can take a look, and if you're curious about any of these instruments, if you catch the guys afterwards, I'm sure they'd be glad to tell you anything you'd like to know about them. A lot of these instruments that you see in front of you have very rich histories. Notice there's even a couple for sale in back. If any of you want to buy one and join us up here next year, you could do that. We're going to continue, and I think some of you may have to get your laws warmed up for this too. I love this carol. I'll be honest, and I use a few laws on this when we sing it, but this is called Bring a Torch, Jeanette Isabella. Y'all know that, right? Cool, good. Let's hear it. Hey, this is another one you can listen to, but I don't know if you'll be able to listen to this without tapping your foot or something. This is a great carol. It's very rhythmic and has a lot of excitement in it. This is Carol of the Bells. Okay, next, we'd like you to sing along with us on Away in a Manger. Now, I want to ask a small favor, and if you can't do this, it's okay. But John Handyside allows us to use the theater for free. He provides ushers, he provides the lights and all that stuff. He even turns the lights off to support my bad jokes. Anyway, there's no pressure here. But if you have some loose change in your pocket and it's not doing anything and you don't have any plans for it, while we play Hark the Herald, the ushers from the theater are going to kind of pass through you, and if you have some loose change that you can throw in a bucket as they pass it by you, just to defray the cost of using the theater, which will allow us to keep having Tuba Christmases, and I hope you're having a good time. and you want to keep it going. So if you can help us out, that would be greatly appreciated. If you're having a tough time, things are a little tight, and you can't do that, that's okay too. Just enjoy the music and sing along with us, because that's the most important thing. But if there's something that you are able to spare, it would sure, John and I both would sure appreciate it. I don't know how many of you have been coming to this theater for 20, 25 years since John took it over, but it is absolutely stunning, the renovation that John's managed to do in this, a little bit at a time. It's just little tiny steps. I remember coming to watch movies here when I was in high school in the 70s when it was a movie house, and it was a total wreck. The ceiling was just water spots. There were places where the plaster was falling down and the whole 9 yards. The seats were terrible. John's done a fabulous job over the last 20 or so years of restoring this theater to its original condition. And I think that's great for Lorain and our metropolitan area, and I support that anyway. So anyway, if you have something you can spare and you could drop it in the bucket, we'd appreciate it. And if not, like I said, that's okay too. There's no reason to feel bad about that. That's not really what we're here for. But if you can help us out a little bit, that's greatly appreciated. We're going to do Hark the Herald Angels Sing. And I'd like to hear some real strong singing from you angels out there, okay? These last few arrangements that we're playing in the end of the program were arranged by Mr. Tucker Jolly, who is the tuba professor at Akron U. And I mentioned this earlier, but he is the coordinator for probably the oldest Tuba Christmas in Ohio. And just gonna say it again, because if you're having a good time, you'll have a great time if you go to the Tuba Christmas in Akron tomorrow also. They're also in a wonderfully restored old theater like this, and you just have a ball and sing along with it. And Tucker is a great host and a great coordinator. Anyway, Tucker Jolly, the professor tuba at University of Akron, wrote these arrangements, and he graciously allows me to use them every year as well. And I just wanted to mention that and how much I appreciate that. We are going to play another, probably the favorite Christmas carol, Silent Night. And we encourage you to sing along with us. Next, we have a very lively German Christmas carol, O Christmas Tree. Thank you. One of the ways we support Tuba Christmas, if you look up here, you see some people wearing some kind of natty Tuba Christmas hats and Tuba Christmas scarves. And if you enjoy the music, there is a commercially made recording of this music by Harvey Phillips, the founder of Tuba Christmas, and some of his friends. And we have those things for sale at the table in the back, and if you're interested in anything like that, they'll be for sale on the way out. My Brookside Band Boosters also have, yes, my Brookside Band Boosters have their own line of clothing, and they have some really neat stuff. And if I encourage you to take a look at that. They helped me out a lot with this event, with registration and with running errands for me on it. And so they also have permission to set a booth up. And that's all at the back table straight behind you. I'd encourage you to take a look at that stuff, especially if you like the music. The CDs are great. I know we have one at our house, and we play it all the time during the Christmas season. I think you'll enjoy it. We're going to go back to England again for another ancient carol called the Coventry Carol. Okay, how many of you have been here before? Cool. You know what's coming next, don't you? Did you bring stuff with you? Let's hear it. Yeah, there you go. If you don't have any jingle bells with you, take out your keys. I have a great wad of keys from school. Look at that. There's 1,400 different locks at my school. Your keys will work. I know one of my percussionists is here, and he stole my sleigh bells out of the band room. So there he is. I hear it. Okay, so you gotta help us. Let's get him going. Let's get him going. Nice and strong here, guys. Keep it going. Well, you enjoying the concert? Good. We're almost done. For our last one, we're going to play We Wish You a Merry Christmas. Thank you for coming. Yeah, it's here for our tuba players. Come back next year and bring your friends.
This has been a production of Lorain City Schools, TV 20 WLCS.
To purchase a high-quality copy of the program you just viewed, please call Lorain City Schools Television at 282-8400.